1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
We're ready.
All right. I will call this regular meeting of the School District of Belleville Board of Education to order at 6:30. Can I get a roll call, please, Marianne?
Yes. Meg Anthony,
Present.
Alan Charles,
Here.
Steve Elliott,
Present.
Ryan Kugley,
Here.
Marion Binney, here, Katie Worley. Beth, yours.
Here.
6 present.
Perfect. Thank you. You guys are gonna have to do the best with me here. You get the substitute teacher in July while Katie is coming back from Poland. So I'll do my best here. I will start by entertaining a motion for tonight's agenda approval.
I will make that motion.
Second.
All right, motion made by Marion, seconded by Alan. Any further discussion? Okay, cool. Then all those in favor of agenda approval, please say yes.
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 Yes. All opposed, say no. All right, motion passes 6-0. Jim, do we have any public comment?
We do not.
Okay, thank you. We'll move on to district highlights then.
So Jean Tradow is going to do a short presentation on Run for Fun, which was held each of the last 4 Mondays for summer school.
So Run for Fun, if you're not aware, is mini track meets held on Monday nights for 4 weeks. I take kids as young as 4 and under, 5 and 6, 7 and 8, and 9 and older are the age groups. And Jim just asked to show the growth that we've had in the program. So on the screen you can see a couple of the pictures that looks like we're finishing up registration, and everybody's kind of hanging around. Kids are warming up as they run around. These are some pictures of the event. This looks like about 75-meter run. We do a 25-meter, 50-meter, 75-meter, and 100-meter, and then 200 meters, and then 400 or up to 1 mile. And again, all age groups can do those. The 9 and olders do not do the 25 meters. They start with, they start with the 7. So you see on there how young we're going. If you are 7 and older, you get to do hurdles. Those are 18-inch hurdles, 5 flights. So they jump over 5 hurdles. About a 65-meter run is what that is. So those are for 7 and older kids. Everybody gets to do the running. Everyone gets to do the relay. Everyone gets to do the long jump. And then if they are 9 and older, they get to do the shot put, which is a 6-pound shot. This looks like we're getting ready to do the relay. We just put kids together in groups of 4. Some of them already have their team put together because they want to win. But we don't care. We just put 4 kids together and away we go. It's nice because if we're short kids, some of the high school kids will jump in and run with them, which is always fun. So we are getting them set to do the 4x100, which means they all run 100 meters. The little ones are pretty excited about that because they get to pass the baton. There's the long jump. Can't tell who's doing that one. It's like a little person in the sand. And then those are our numbers for the last 2 years. Last year we had New Glarus with us. We averaged probably around 25 people from New Glarus each week. I think we had 22 1 week. I think we had 28 1 week. So around 25 of them were theirs. This year they are all ours, except for the first night we had 5 from New Glarus. Second night with stormy weather and high humidity, our number was lower. We had nobody outside of Belleville come. The third night, I think we had like 3 or 4. No, actually, we had more than that. We must have had 5. We had a family from Blanchardville come. And then on the last night, we had 9 outside people. So we had 101 Belleville kids, and we had 9 outside. They all love it. Fun. The numbers could be higher because some kids come late. Like we have a couple of boys that would come after their baseball games. So they'd be running in their baseball clothes. We had one little girl running in her soccer clothes. But I didn't realize it until she was done. But anyway, yeah. that's run. We have been doing it, I don't know how many years. Dan Shetler and I started it way back when. So it's been a lot of years.
I was going to ask how long you've been doing that, Jean. 'Cause
Anybody got a guess?
I know Matthew and Michael participated.
Okay, so how many years ago was that?
Now
I'm
gonna-
thinking it's got to be about 20 years.
they're 30 now. Well, Matthew's 30. So
I'm thinking it's got to be about 20 years, maybe a few more.
I
Because
would-
I know Dan was the track coach at the time, and he said, and I was middle school track coach, and he said, Gene, how can we do this? So we kind of laid it out, and it's, kind of grew it from there. We didn't do hurdles right away. We started that a few years after. We did the running and the jumping.
and I think
I think
that
we added in the shot put a couple years after with the hurdles.
I think the PTO didn't the PTO donate funds for ribbons.
They did
The
for a
first
few years.
years.
A couple of years we charged, and to be honest, in recent years I've had donations from the church, and that's covered the price of our ribbon. Last couple of years I have not had to order because of the amount of money that they gave, and I had to spend it. Now I need to order again for next year.
So while that rainbow is a lovely photo, it does indicate that it was raining.
It
That
was
night?
raining.
I don't know if you can count on a full hand how many times you've had perfect weather. It's probably not typical.
This year, never.
No.
We had high humidity.
Yeah.
We had severe weather where I've got Jim and Melissa calling me and saying, "Are you still doing it?" Yes. Parents can decide.
It only snowed or rained about 20 inches after that. But
Yeah, but there was one little guy, about 2 years old, who's at the starting line, always smiles at the start. And it's starting to rain. And then I said, "Joe, you took off running with the fast one." He just in a big smile. Like, the eyes are all scrunched up. It's a good time. So. Thanks.
Program.
And if any of you have ever seen this, if you go for nothing else, just go to watch Gene organize the relay. It's a small miracle how it works, but it does. Because they have to start there, they line up together, but then they have to go to 4 different parts of the track. Somehow they end up in the right spot.
Jean.
Thanks, Jean.
All right, I believe that was our only district highlight. Jim, let me know if that's wrong.
That's
And
correct.
I also believe we don't have any correspondence as well.
Correct.
So next up is the consent agenda. So I will entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
All right, motion made by Marion, seconded by Alan. Any further discussion on the consent agenda? Okay, other than the bird squawking in the background for me, all those in favor of consent agenda approval, please say yes.
Yes.
Yes. All opposed say no. Motion passes 6-0. All right, up next then, give me a moment while I scroll quick, is our district administrator report. So I'll turn it over to you, Jim.
All right. We're going to start out first with our donations, as always. Have a unique donation this time. It's a trombone valued at $500 to go to our music program, so we're very grateful for that piece. Summer school wrapped up last week. You may see at least one board member there helping out. Thanks, Steve, for your hard work with Legos. So we had lots of different courses offered, obviously, and Melissa's is enjoying a well-deserved rest. Also with summer school finishing, though, we still have about 4 more weeks of swim lessons. And one of the culminating activities, of course, is the musical. And Peyton did a great job leading us through Dave the Brave and the Pirateers and a very large morning crew. I wasn't able to go to the evening one because I was at a different meeting that night. So hopefully it went well. I forgot to check in on that. We also had last month, we had a great collaboration. This was actually inspired also by Jean. Jean and Kelsey both have been former pool directors and really recommended doing a collaboration with the EMS and So they did that. And then there was another training I saw recently where they did with their sweatshirts and all that on as well. But this is a nice collaboration between the EMS and our team. So we're grateful for that collaboration. Some logistical pieces. We had some blacktop resealing take place. So Steve coordinated that nicely. A third of our property was taken care of. And I don't have on here as well, if you noticed, if you drove by the ES, got some flags up on top, right? So the ES roof has started. So we'll give an update on that next month. The pool pavilion is done. Everything but the hookup. So we have all the wires in, everything. But we still need to get hooked to the back to the system. So that should be done hopefully within about a month. We are have to wait we're in the queue for that to take place. There's 10 solar panels on both sides. That is a metal roof, and it did sprinkle that day, which made it a little challenging. So, but it's all taken care of now. So we're grateful to Forever 56 and Steve's leadership on that project. It looks great. Oh, by the way, that last picture in the bottom right is Steve and Sherry getting ready for the Forever 56 picnic, and so it was a nice opportunity. That was the first day that everything had been, the restrictions had been taken away. So they got to break that in themselves. Last month the fourth Monday of the month, this has been sort of building. I had a conversation with Katie about, boy, this seems like it's just crept up and becoming a bigger thing, and she's correct. This is from the economic development arm of the village. They've been doing work with UW Extension on looking for ways to capitalize on the assets within the community to really develop economic growth and really trying to do visioning work, which while it's for the economic development, it's really for the village, if you think about it. So I gave some samples to the board to share from their meetings. So some of the data looks like what they had on the right. On the left was their presentation, but the next meeting, and it is a public meeting, they all are public meetings with the village. It's the fourth Friday of the month, or fourth Monday of the month, which is going to be on the 28th, 5:30. I know that both Marion and Katie plan to attend the next session, but anyone else can attend as well. And they've really done a lot of baseline work, and now they're really ready to dig in and have conversations about what they hope to become. And I am hoping that it is inspiring for our work that we're hoping to do with the strategic plan. The district leadership team has met. We have a draft goal. There's a focus here on literacy. We did have a question from amongst the board about why this particular topic, and really a couple big reasons. One is we know that literacy in particularly English language arts is that gateway into a lot of other curricular areas, and to be able to access and do those higher level 21st century skills. It was also one of the cornerstones of our assessment, both school report cards, the Ames web assessments that Kelsey's talked quite a bit about, board exams, et cetera. So again, this is a draft. We still have to work through other phases on this. But last year, we had two different goals at the elementary and at the middle high school. This is a unifying goal. It's not a SMART goal. And that meaning this is not particularly measurable, but it creates the context for SMART goals to be written within the two different levels. So it was designed intentionally that way. So we'll be working on the next phase of the retreat the second week in August. But this looks simple, a lot of hard work done to get there. So I'm grateful for the district leadership team's work on that. Then finally, we have some upcoming meetings. A couple of notices on this. One is we moved the facility planning meeting up. It's going to be related to the conversation we're going to have later today with the update of the long range planning request for proposal responses. So we're going to be interviewing some of those vendors at that time, and then at the September meeting, not the August meeting, we're going to start having committees report out at school board meetings. So in September we'll be hearing from those three. Don't worry, I'm not going to put you on the spot. We will talk about at the meetings who's going to report out, what that's going to look like, so that then when we get to this meeting, it won't be like, oh, I forgot. We'll make sure we take care of everybody. So that'll be a little shift. We're going to try to work on. We do keep notes. We're going to be a little bit more official on the minutes and then reporting out at the meetings. But again, we're going to make it as turnkey as we can for everybody. Any questions?
Anybody have questions for Jim? Okay.
It's like
Cool.
none. Thank you.
Marion, I believe you're up next with anything from CISA.
Okay, thank you. So we had our regular Board of Control meeting on June 17th, along with our delegate convention and the reorganization meeting. And so I sent you the report, and you can see what the executive team, what they reported. And then we held our delegate convention, and Trish Kilpin from the Department of Justice, she spoke. That was very well received. I think she talked for about 25 minutes, and then there was easily 15, 20 minutes of questions for her. So everyone really appreciated discussion. And then we held our reorganization meeting, and I was elected to be chairperson again this year, for this year. And then we, as you can see in the report, that we had other kind of things that we decided, the virtual versus in-person meetings, and our depository newspaper, and our attorney. So our next meeting is tomorrow night, and it's virtual. So I won't be driving to Whitewater. So, yeah. Thank you.
Congratulations on the chairperson or the meeting that's virtual.
Yeah.
Yes, congratulations, Marion. Any questions for CISA 2 stuff? Or anything else to add, Marion?
And then, well, I did have one other thing. Jim, or no, I think that's for this next meeting. You attach the presentation. So
Tricia's?
that's, yeah, no, not, well,
I have Tricia's presentation
Okay.
in this one, yes.
and then the one that we have tomorrow night, that's attached too.
What is it?
Well, I think I said that to you.
I don't think I put tomorrow's in.
Okay. Okay, I'll double.
Could you do a resend for me? Thank you.
I should
All right.
add-
Any other questions for Marion?
If I could add one more thing, we have a representative from Wisconsin Heights that joined the Board of Control, and then someone from Cambridge for the Board of Control. So it looks like we'll have we're still at 10 members. We don't have a representative from, I think, Cluster C yet. So we're working on that. Be great to have a full team. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Marion. Moving into discussion possible action items, we have first one about WIA membership approval. So would someone like to make a motion?
I make a motion to approve the WIAA membership renewal for the 2025-2026 school year.
Second.
Motion is made by Meg, seconded by Marion, or Alan, sorry. Opening it up for discussion.
This is a routine annual process. Without doing this, we cannot be participating with the WI sports. Zach, I don't know if you have anything else because you're going to pop up anyway for the ball coaches in just a moment. If you have any other comments.
Without it, we just couldn't participate in sports. So we're just agreeing to their rules and regulations.
Okay, not hearing any other discussion. We have a motion to approve the WIAA membership renewal for the 2025-26 school year. All those in favor, please say yes.
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 All those opposed say no. Motion passes 6-0. Our next one, next motion coming up is for the fall coaching contracts for 2025-2026. So I will entertain a motion.
I make a motion to approve the 2025-2026 fall coaching contracts as presented.
Second.
All right, we have a motion made by Ryan, seconded by Alan, opening this one up for discussion.
Just for those that are keeping track, we have 2 new football coaches this year, 2 assistant coaches, Jason Murray and Andy Murray. We have a new assistant coach for boys soccer by the Haley Brisky. And then we have Jenna Schrader stepping in as an assistant coach for volleyball this year. So we had 4 openings. We filled all 4, and looking forward to a good season, to a good year.
Any other questions or discussion? Okay, then we have a motion on the floor to approve the 2025-2026 fall coaching contracts as presented. All those in favor, please say yes.
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 Yes. All those opposed, say no. Motion passes 6-0. Next on the agenda, we have a topic on the 2025-26 academic standards approval. So I will entertain a motion on this.
I make a motion to readopt the Wisconsin academic standards and the next generation science standards that are currently in place in the school district of Belleville for the 2025-2026 school year.
Second.
All right, motion made by Meg, seconded by Ryan. We'll open this up for discussion.
Yeah, this is something that was adopted back in 2015, and it's an annual thing agenda item that has to be part of every school board in July or after July 1 at their first meeting. And so you'll find this all around the state. Districts do have the opportunity to write their own standards. They do have the opportunity to adopt any standards. Our district has adopted the Wisconsin academic standards rather than writing our own, and the next gen science standards, which is related to not the next item, but the item after that. So we did put this in front of the next 2 items on purpose. But this has been just like the WI, it's a standard thing unless we choose to do a very arduous, expensive process of creating our own standards.
Thank you, Jim. Any questions or discussion on this one? Okay. Then the motion is to readopt the Wisconsin academic standards and the next generation science standards that are currently in place in the school district of Belleville for the 2025-2026 school year. All those in favor, please say yes.
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 All those opposed, please say no. Motion passes 6-0. Next topic on the agenda is on our human growth and development curriculum approval. I will entertain a motion for this one.
I make a motion to adopt the district's updated human growth and development curriculum as presented.
Second.
All right, motion made by Meg, seconded by Alan. So I will I think that's Becca standing back there. Take it away.
Yes. And I have with me today Joe and Rachel. They were the co-chairs. So I'm going to turn it over to them for questions. But as you know, it's kind of a long process, but we got through it. And I think under 1 school year, right? We did it 1 school year. So I think it was a great experience. And I think we have a good curriculum set forth for our students. Jim uploaded a new version because the one that I had given to him earlier didn't have the front. If you look at it, the goals for the human growth and development curriculum, the statements, and comments from the advisory group were not the accurate ones. So we updated that this morning so that are accurate. And I'm going to let Joe and Rachel take it away for any questions. I'm not going to sing, so.
How do you
Thank
think
you
the-
both. Oh, sorry.
How do you think the process went for both of you? from your
Actually, it was really good.
perspective?
The group was very engaged, which is what we needed, right? We need to make sure that everybody's voice was heard. There was definitely. I think felt like we had 2 different people. We went very slowly, methodically if we had to. So I think that was something that
Rachel, if you're talking into the mic, can you? Yeah.
How about now?
Thank you. Perfect. Thank
Okay.
you.
What else? I was doing more of the logistics of the scheduling, and that was, I felt challenging, but we made it through to meet quorum. It was the meeting of the quorum that was the hard part for me. But we did it, and I'm very proud of our end result.
You both did a great job facilitating the meetings too. Like you said, there were some contentious ones, but you did a great job. Thank you.
Thank you. They're important.
Thank you guys and to all the volunteers. Not something I was willing to step into for sure. So sounds great. We're gonna hold you to that.
And then when will it be reviewed again? Not in 14 years.
We'll go on to the regular curriculum cycle now. And so typically curriculums are reviewed every 5 to 7 years. So it'll have a cycle, spot on the cycle from here going forward. So it's not 14 years again before we talk about human growth and development. Thank you.
All right. Any other questions or discussion on the human growth and development curriculum approval? Okay. Hearing none, the motion is to adopt the district's updated human growth and development curriculum as presented. All those in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
All those opposed, please say no. Motion passes 6-0. Next on the agenda is our 6 to 8 science curriculum materials approval. So I'll entertain a motion for that topic.
I make a motion to adopt the TWIG Science Next Gen as the new science curriculum materials for grades 6 through 8 as presented.
Second.
All right, motion made by Meg, seconded by Steve. So we'll open this one up for discussion.
I included some information on the TWIG science curriculum or materials. So this past school year, they were piloted in 6th grade by Kim Allen. It's a more inquiry-based, hands-on approach to the next gen science standards, and it breaks it up into disciplinary components versus 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade. And so she piloted the 6th grade, which is Earth and Space Science. It went really, really well. The students were super engaged. We felt like topics were well covered, and it met all the standards it needed to for that grade level. And so we'd like to now roll that to, so our ultimate goal is to bring it 6, 7, 8. But in discussions, Kyle and Liz and I decided it would be best to keep it in 6th grade next year. We'll start it in 7th grade for the 25-26, and then it'll go to 8th grade in the following year. And then from there forward, it'll continue. That way, it's not, the learning is not interrupted for the current students in 7th and 8th grade, but the 6th grade students that are coming up to 7th grade will have a continuum, a continuity with that curriculum. One of the other things we really found powerful about this curriculum is that it also has good translation for our multilingual students. So we were able to get all of our materials in Spanish, which allowed all of our multilingual students to engage with the materials and the science and the labs and all of that really well. And the students were very successful. It also comes with full kits. There wasn't, Kim Allen said there was very little she had to purchase or prepare when using the curricular materials. So it comes, the kits are pretty phenomenal, and then there's just very little replacement each year. It again comes with consumable workbooks, but we can print it offline. We decided, again, like we do with most of our new curriculums that have the option for consumables or not consumables, we do a year or two with the consumables, and then from there decide if we want to print from online, print it off, or if we want to continue with the workbooks. So we'll use workbooks for the next couple of years with Twig, which is an expense, but it seems to help the students. And actually, most of the students that or the curricular materials we've purchased that have the option for workbooks or not workbooks, most of the teachers have agreed to keep using the workbooks. It's easier. The students like them. It's an organization or, executive function. I have to bring my workbook to class, practicing those skills. So, but we're excited to bring it on board. So next year, trying to think write it down. I think 7th grade is physical science, and then 8th grade is life science. And so then that should roll us into looking at a gap analysis for high school and hopefully looking at purchasing curricular materials for our high school courses in the next year or so. Because that curriculum cycle was interrupted by COVID and we hadn't gotten back to it yet. And their materials are quite old. Any other questions about Twig?
Okay, I don't hear any other questions. So the motion is to adopt Twig Science Next Gen as the new science curriculum materials for grade 6 through 8 as presented. All those in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
Yes. All those opposed, please say no. Motion passes 6-0. Next on our agenda is a proposal for making updates to our Office of School Safety protocols. So I will entertain a motion.
I make a motion to approve the adoption of the Wisconsin Department of Justice Office of School Safety Protocols as presented.
I'll second it.
Motion made by Alan, seconded by Marion. So we'll open this one up for discussion.
So this is here for two reasons. One is we are about to talk about student handbooks, and in there has the language from the Office of School Safety, the different protocols that they are using. The second is that I came across when we were working on some of the school safety items in the handbooks that the district had explicitly adopted ALICE training at one time. And so we felt it was important to at least honor the fact that that had happened, and then really we're going to be making a shift that is not just an administrative, that we have a shared understanding. But what this proposal does is it doesn't adopt one particular protocol, but whatever the Office of School Safety has. Now, the Office of School Safety was created in 2018, a year after Act 143 was put in place. And Act 143 was really asking for public and private schools to have the drills and response protocols in place. So a lot of what we're seeing is this slow convergence of response protocols. Now, I mean, across the board. So we're being requested by Dane County Emergency Services to all use the same protocols across the county in their county schools. And they would like us to use the ones from the Office of School Safety so that we have common language and expectations across the board. What this will do is it'll adopt so if the Office of School Safety changes, we don't have to act, we just will shift to whatever they're changing to. And so the things that are in here that I point out, the standards response protocol, those 5 different verb-driven actions that people do based on the type of scenario that is in place, the standard reunification method, how we get people back together after an event, speak up, speak out. So we had Sprigio for many years as a way for students to be able to put in a concern. Now we're going to be using Speak Up, Speak Out, which is staff 24/7. And they are able to, and we have assurance that they will be able to get back to us immediately if there's something that is comes across that desk. And then the Wisconsin School Threat Assessment and Management Protocol, which includes the DTAM. So those are the current tools, and some of those may sound familiar. This approval just says, look, we're going forward with whatever Office of School Safety does. And then if they make a change, we then train our staff to adapt to that change.
All right, any questions or discussions on this proposal? Okay, Hearing none, then the motion is to approve the adoption of the Wisconsin Department of Justice Office of School Safety Protocols as presented. All those in favor, please say yes.
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 Yes. All those opposed, please say no. Motion passes 6-0. I'm sorry if you heard a train in the background on that last one, folks. Up next, our next topic is to look at the 2025-2026 elementary and middle high school student handbook approvals. I will entertain a motion.
I make a motion to approve the 2025-2026 Belleville Elementary School Student Handbook as presented.
Second.
All right, motion made by Alan, seconded by Meg. Opening this up for discussion.
Yeah, hey Beth, could you tell Dale to stop playing with his trains until we're done, please? Just till we're done with the
I will
meeting.
be sure. I will be sure. He's currently, I think, tying fishing lures on right now.
So I'm going to maybe start out big picture, and then Kelsey and Kyle can drill in. Again, part of this is related to the item before. There's a shift in language here to adapt to the Office of School Safety Protocols. There's also just some logistical changes as well. And I know at the middle high school, there was definitely some same content that had been significantly reorganized just to make it read and flow better. But I'll let Kelsey and Kyle dig in if you want to highlight any other features.
Yeah, no highlights, just making sure that it matches our current practice and a couple of like definition tweaks and things like that. Nothing major.
Yeah, same thing for both of ours. Just a huge shout out to Liz as she's good at taking my ideas and actually making them look good. So ours have just gotten really repetitive and out of order, it seemed like. So we try to have a better flow. But again, no big changes, just small tweaks.
Okay, since they are separate motions, we'll start with the elementary school one. Any other discussion? Okay, first motion here is to approve the 2025-2026 Belleville Elementary School Student Handbook as presented. All those in favor, please say yes.
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 Yes. All those opposed, please say no. Motion passes 6-0.
I make a motion to approve the 2025-2026 Belleville Middle School and High School Student Handbook as presented.
Second.
All right, motion made by Ryan, seconded by Alan. Any other questions on the middle and high school one? Okay, hearing none, the motion is to approve the 2025-2026 Belleville Middle and High School Student Handbook as presented. All those in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
All those opposed, please say no. Motion passes 6-0. To finish out the trifecta of handbooks, our next topic is on the employee handbook changes. So I will entertain a motion for this one.
I make a motion to approve the 2025-2026 Employee Handbook changes as presented.
Second.
Motion made by Alan, seconded by Meg. We'll open this one up for discussion.
That was Marion.
Did you want to do a correction there? It was
Oh,
Marion.
sorry, did I have the wrong one?
Yep.
It was Marion.
Yep.
Sorry.
So this is the annual update to the employee handbook. I did share in the notes that we've had several folks look at this, including both BA and BEST. So the second half of the changes list is merely the fact that we had to shift a couple positions to away from being union positions because they're not teachers. So a lot of that was just pushing those folks out to, I believe, part 5 or let me just check, make sure I got that right. Part 4. Part 4. We did create some more flexibility instead of waiting 10 years to be able to use consecutive days past 2 days for your personal time, to let that occur more often, just as long as we get some notice. And so I know when I shared that one with the union, they were very pleased. The family health reimbursement account information is simply just putting in what the board had approved last year. And then several different changes, trying to thin things out a little bit on the visits from 6 to 4 because quarterly made a lot more sense. We did also make a shift here. A couple things. One is we pushed back the date to have your to move lanes over, like when you become a master's, or if you become a master educator, if you get your national board. We've made that just a little bit later. Kelly thinks that we can accommodate that September 1 date. But we also changed from just national board certification and master teacher designation to what we call a terminal degree or certification. So if you get a doctorate, or if you get a certification that is outside of something that is offered in national board certification. So for example, if you are a speech and language pathologist and you do the 3 C's, do I have that right? The 3 C's, or if you have your specialist degree, your EDS as a school psychologist, things like that. This provides us more flexibility to get people to that far lane and has a pathway across the board of all of our different professional areas. So that was one of the big shifts, and I think it was well received when we shared that with BEA as well. We also got rid of some old language on, like effective, and these were dates that were back in 4 or 5 years ago, so we removed some of that. We did clarify the full-time schedule. There is no difference at the high school versus the other levels in terms of prep, but we also did clarify what that secondary workload looks like. And again, most of the other changes are just pushing out to part 4 to match the shift in that those are non-union positions as opposed to union. So, and we got rid of the COVID addendum as well. And I think that's over.
Thank you, Jim. Any questions or discussions on the employee handbook?
Jim, do any of these changes have a financial impact in like the coming year that wasn't budgeted for or anticipated?
We may have 1 or 2 slide that have doctorates, the specialist degree, but nothing too significant. We don't anticipate a big run on moving people over a level. That being said, we had a fair number of people that had no avenue to work their way laterally either. And by laterally meaning from the 3 to the 6.
And financial impact from the HRA change?
No, and that one is the one that the board had approved. It was actually a year and a month ago, the family health reimbursement. We haven't had anybody yet sign up for it, but at least we have it codified, the language in the handbook.
Okay, hearing no further discussion, the motion is to approve the 2025-2026 employee handbook changes as presented. All those in favor, please say yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. All those opposed, please say no. Motion passes 6-0. Next up on the agenda is a proposal for our strategic plan facilitator approval. So I will entertain a motion.
I make a motion to approve Brad Sarin and Steve Schroeder as the facilitators of the district's strategic plan process during the 2025-2026 fiscal year as presented.
Motion made by Meg, seconded by Marion. Opening it up for discussion.
So thank you to the district leadership team and to the board for voting on the proposal. One of the nice things about getting that large number of people voting is that's called forced consensus, because the numbers sort of they do drive the outcome. We had a clear separation between the first proposal and the second and third proposals. Typically, like I said, that 95% is when you start getting below that, you're feeling like you're starting to move away from being close. And that's something that's going to come up a little bit later in our discussion when we talk about the long-range planning contractors as well. So I think these folks, I know that they have done this work quite a bit. You saw in their references. So they're eager to start reaching out and developing a planning team that's going to drive the work. And I do know that this particular group is going to make sure that it is the work of Belleville and not the work that they've done in past areas. And that's something that we heard loud and clear from the references.
Any additional discussion or questions for Jim?
Timeline for the
Yeah, so they're actually expecting in August and very possibly could have a discussion item with them in August at the board just to begin that process. So as soon they're waiting for our response tonight, and then they'll give us the next steps, and we'll be arranging something very early in August.
Thank you.
One final thing is the end goal is to be bringing together a large number of our community in either November, December area, and we'll have to work those dates out. But that steering team is going to be doing a lot of work before that. And then after those meetings as well, to be able to synthesize the work and then bring it to the board for approval.
Any other questions or discussion on this topic? Okay. The motion is to approve Brad Sarin and Steve Schrader as the facilitators of the district's strategic plan process during the 2025-2026 fiscal year as presented. All those in favor, please say yes.
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 All those opposed, please say no. Motion passes 6-0. Next on the agenda is a review and approval of a couple policy updates. So I'll entertain a motion.
I make a motion to approve policy number 5540 and policy 7250 as presented.
Second it.
Motion made by Meg, seconded by Marion, opening this up for discussion.
So these are a couple of stragglers. They sort of stick out just because we couldn't get them done during our meeting time that we had allotted. So we had to come back. So 5540 is based on outside agencies coming to meet with students, and 7250 is that overhauling of our naming of schools, facilities, sites, and events. And this is just that second swing at it. And again, we couldn't get it done in the time that the big herd of policies that last went through were adopted.
Any comments or questions on these two policies?
I have a question on 5540. Does this, in reading through it, I don't see any language that indicates parents or guardians being involved in the process. It looks like mostly between administration and the government agency. Is that correct?
There is a note. There is a spot. When you get down the green part under number 4, you'll
Okay.
start to see, and then there's a decision made about contacting the family.
Okay.
Is that all?
But they're able to remove student without the family's involvement.
Well, we would. That's the difference between the type of warrant. So that this slows that process down. So that unless it's judicial, then accessing that student would cease.
Okay.
Thank you, Alan, for that question. Anyone else have questions? Okay, then the motion is to approve policy number 5540 and policy number 7250 as presented. All those in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
Yes. All those opposed, please say no. Motion passes 6-0. And then our final action item of the evening is a discussion to define the senior citizen age for district events. So I'll entertain a motion.
I make a motion to approve the definition of a senior citizen in the school district of Belleville as 60 years of age or older for the purposes of admission to district events, facilities, and activities as presented.
Second.
Motion made by Steve, seconded by Alan. Opening this up for discussion.
So this was actually brought to us by a community member. Our age we've been using was 65. Had a community member reach out and suggest 62. At that point, we did some research. And if you would like to go down a rabbit hole, try finding a very consistent definition of senior citizen, and you will find, based on the different agencies, it changes. So I talked with Angie Markart from the Sugar River Senior Center, and they began offering services at the age of 60. We are recommending that we do the same, provide consistency in our community. Then Zach Nelson can be providing passes at the senior center. So anyone receiving services there that's also a member of lives within our district boundaries, but to be able to then get any pass or things like that. This isn't an age range that we're targeting to earn a lot of money off of anyway. So I know, Steve, your question earlier about fiscal impact, we'd expect to be little to nothing. And typically when people come and ask and say if we're seniors, it's usually trust anyway. This just allows us for continuity between agencies in our community, which we think is an important step and something that, if adopted, we would be very clear to advertise different ways that this is something that our board and senior center are collaborating on. I should add, by the way, events, facilities, and activities includes the swimming pool.
Thank you, Jim. Any other questions or discussion?
I'm glad you have a plan to get the word out about it, because I was just thinking, like, how are we going to let them know? And it's a really great opportunity. I think it's wonderful that we're offering it.
All right. The motion on the table is to approve the definition of a senior citizen in the school district of Belleville as 60 years of age or older for the purpose of admission to district events, facilities, and activities as presented. All those in favor, please say yes.
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 All those opposed, please say no. Motion passes 6-0. Next up on our agenda is a presentation by Liz and Kyle on our middle and high school student surveys. So I'll let you guys take it over. Just speak directly into the mic, please. Thank you.
All right, so hello. We are both going to kind of tag team this and talk through our results and, more importantly, our action steps moving forward, how we're using the data, and what our plan is going into the next school year. So if you remember back to summer board meetings last year, going over the senior exit results, we started to have the conversation about opening it up and possibly serving ninth graders. So diving into that more and being a new leadership team together, we said, let's get baseline data for all of our students. And that's what led us to rolling out the survey in the way that we did this year. So in the table there, you see kind of the process and that we used last year, or that was surveyed and shared about last year versus this school year. So this year we went ahead and surveyed all students in grades 7 through 12. Going forward, we would like to survey students in 7, 9, and 12 now that we have that baseline data. So we don't get that survey fatigue, but we're still giving them the opportunity and able to check in on them throughout. With that, we also want to look at, we had a really high jump in the survey attempts that we got taken. That's because we gave them time during the school day. That was another piece of feedback that you had given us last year as we were reporting out on the results. So in the high school, we had 197 of 276 students. So that is significantly up from last year. And then in the middle school, we had 103 responses out of 112. And some of that is due to absences, illness, those types of things. So we're really pleased by that, to have a wide variety of information. The other thing I'd like to point out before we open it up to questions about some of the data is that you do not see it as a board on it, but we gave follow-up questions to each question given to them. So for number 1, on a scale of from 1 to 4, how connected do you feel to our school community? They were given an open-ended response to give us any feedback, but there was self-identifying information in that was personal. So we didn't share all of those pieces out, but we were able to sift through them and take that into consideration as we made our plan. Any questions about the data before we really dive into the next steps of how we're going to use that data?
Do we have any way of comparing this to other districts as far as the type of responses that we get? It was just like, there's a couple things that stand out. It'd be interesting to see whether, I'm assuming they're things that most districts share, but.
Yeah, I mean, so I have 3 weeks now. I have a capital conference principals meeting. Something I could ask them of how they survey outside of school perceptions, because we really streamline this to our needs and what we really want to hear from the students. But I also think now that we're going to give it yearly, we'll be able to have kind of a better baseline data, as Liz was saying, so that we'll have better growth to be able to identify, and more so areas of growth that we already have.
And my second thank you. My second question, specific to the physically safe and the harass bully questions. I'm assuming those responses got sussed out more with the extended conversations.
Yes. And what is nice as we wrapped up this school year and we're already able to look at some of that and touch base with some of those students. Certain things are things that are out of our control here at school, but having them share it with us is helpful for us to know, so that we can support and just check in and follow up with them on those things.
Thank you.
Yeah, and otherwise, if
I had a
yeah, shoot, Beth.
I had a question. It was question 13 on Belleville Middle School and maintaining a drug-free environment. One, I'm assuming it was going to say Belleville High School if I was in the high school. Like, we're asking them in their environment.
Yes, it said both for each. They
Okay,
had different
that's,
ones.
I assume, but I want to be sure. The main question I have for that is, there's a significant difference between the middle school and the high school in the 4 excellent in particular and 2 fair. Is that something that was surprising to you, kind of anticipated, something that you're looking at?
So surprising, unfortunately, no. This is a representation, unfortunately, is how aware students become as they get older. That is really what this kind of shows us. I was actually overall encouraged, because if you look at previous years, we have surveyed regarding like a drug-free and safe environment. Our results were usually more in the fair to poor, where it was over 50% was usually more. So we've actually seen great growth in that. I think unfortunately, some of this is out of our control as well in terms of their experiences. So we will continue to try and push that more. But overall, we were pretty happy with these results as a baseline only, and gave us some small areas to growth, especially, as Liz was saying, if anyone selected a 1 or a 2, they had to give us a reason why they were saying that. And that's kind of what's helped guide some of our questions. Or more so, we've gained a better understanding of why they maybe selected poor and their expectation of drug-free or something is different than some other students is drug-free as well.
Thank you. Yeah, I was also just going to note, as I was flipping through the other data points here, I think it's really cool how consistent stuff is, honestly, 7 through 12. It seems like even though they are technically a middle school and a high school, it feels very consistent. Students are getting a consistent experience, and their families all the way through those. And I know that's something you guys have been working on. So kudos to keeping that consistency and not making it feel like 2 separate things trying to work towards the same goal.
Yes, agreed. Thank you. It's definitely one of our biggest focuses. Still will be our bigger focus, though, really how we can continue to align them better. I mean, I will say selfishly, the one I took, if you look at previous senior results in terms of, I don't know if you see the slideshow, Beth, around 12, just about in case of emergency, people know what to do. We've never gotten results this strong. So, and it was really an emphasis we put in all of our staff in terms of speaking with all of their classes multiple times a year. So getting this response where we've drilled it into their head, we get it. So that's good to see, though, and we're going to continue to push it for the 2.5 kids, I think, that selected no. We'll keep pushing them.
Yeah, agree. I can see it here. It's really important and really good to see.
Yeah, and so just kind of where this has helped guide us, and Liz is going to get a lot of credit for this again, as you know I like to do, is she's got a good vision for all of the things I like to spew out as I talk to her. So we have taken all of the data, and it's given us kind of our focus for next year already. We actually met with our student leadership panel after we took this survey just to get kind of a baseline response for them. And that was super helpful. We're not going to go over the key action items right now because that's going to be part of our SIP plan. We're going to be building a more elaborative SIP plan this year. But really, it came down to three areas: in our inclusion and belonging, which we know we were always going to grow, and more importantly, we always have to change how we meet the needs of our students. I think alone the HDD curriculum that Becca just helped kind of us to pass is a huge step forward in that. Also getting more voice within our students. This student leadership panel has really kind of opened our eyes to just all of the different avenues that they have. And something else we've been really happy to see is this summer we've been reaching out to staff. As you guys know, like, we want to give our students as many opportunities as possible. You see it in the results as well. They want more. Our staff this summer has jumped on opportunities, and we have already filled over, I believe, half of our open extracurriculars. Well, I shouldn't say filled. They've offered to do it, which you will hopefully approve next month, that they are interested in doing it. But to see our staff jumping at the opportunities and trying to find other ways as well has been fantastic. Inclusion and belonging, always going to be something. We're excited about what Speak Up, Speak Out and our standard response protocol is going to bring for this. The second one, and this one's very wordy, but it builds on the foundation we already have. When you look at the results, you'll probably see within how grades represent everything and how students feel, it needs some work, and we are aware of that. And we knew that before, but it's good to see the data with it. Now we can use that data and we help push our staff forward. Before we can dive into the big picture of grading, which is coming down the line for us, we first have to make sure our curriculum is aligned, which is building on our curricular templates is going to be kind of the foundation of our work in the classrooms for next year. And then last is, I think Liz has really jumped on this goal, and as she's got it, is our attendance and engagement, because truly they go hand in hand. The more kids are in class, the more they're engaged, the more they're able to succeed. We are really going to be trying to focus in on bigger reasons of why attendance is an issue and how we can better support that. We can't control as soon as they leave the building, but we can do a whole lot more inside the classroom. We've already started some of those programs, and just continuing that work throughout this summer to help us with this is going to be, we're very excited to see what this brings us next year. We're already talking about how we're going to have more focused class advisors for all of our grade levels, so our teachers can carry with them and really start building kind of that family feel, kind of what Kelsey and Melissa have been doing at the elementary school already. We're going to try and add on to that. And then you've seen it already if you haven't. Our social media page is beautiful. Shout out to Mr. Beanash, who has taken over as our social media director. But just having someone who's also aligned with what schools look like and what kids are interested in now, the amount of help that's going to have for us is going to be fantastic. I don't even think we realize it yet, but he is really already pushing that forward. So Beth, I want to give you a shout out too, because you actually kind of sparked that idea for us of surveying more than just seniors, kind of building more of a platform so that we can have more actionable data, and it's been very beneficial for us. So shout out to you, Beth, as you're on vacation and can relax. Any other questions kind of from our takeaways or kind of where our vision is going based off this survey?
I think you touched on it a little bit, but on the 7th slide, to help them feel more prepared for life after graduation, have we looked at additional curriculum to put extracurriculars in place for addressing that?
Yes, we have already in terms of the 7th and 8th. That's something we're working on. Also, something we're looking at more bigger picture with the middle school is how we can align our electives a little bit more to kind of building those college and career ready students, giving them an earlier experience. In 9 through 12, this was the overall vision of Wildcat Time in the first start. This year went great. The teachers were overall positive about how it was, but now our goal is to build those kind of things into each of the 4 grade levels and also throughout some of our classes. And Liz has also been working on trying to build our committees more, and we are going to have a committee of staff that are looking at trying to get more into the academic and career planning side that will hit some of this. So yes, but in the very basic stages so far.
Thank you.
One thing I thought of for that, and I didn't put it in my email to Jim this afternoon, is utilizing summer school as an enrichment opportunity, both for career and professional planning, but also just somebody put adulting 101, that would be a great class for a bunch of junior high kids to take in the summertime that you may not have time to get to during the school year, but are still good critical life skills. So that might be an option too.
I actually saw Alan jumping at that opportunity to teach adulting 101. So, but no, yeah, I think those are great avenues as we can try and get more of, because it is something, right, that at the higher levels, we don't have as much opportunity in summer school. So I do think that could be a really interesting possibility.
Any
was
other
interesting- oh, sorry.
questions or feedback? Go ahead, Meg.
It was interesting how many times survival skills came up, that kids are interested in learning survival skills. What do you think that comes from?
Joel Jacobs and Mr. Bussey would be my guess. I mean, just off the cuff. But, and social media. I mean, kids are intrigued more and stuff like that. It's a dangerous thing to kind of put into our general curriculum. Maybe we'll do it as a side curriculum, after school activity maybe.
To build on Beth's
All right,
question
any
from
other questions? Oh, sorry, I keep
That's all
cutting
right.
everybody off. Go ahead, Steve.
I just want to build on your question from earlier because you guys did some follow up with the questions on drug free environment. Did they clarify what they were referring to? I assume vaping was the number one type thing, basically, or
Yeah, hold on. I'm just trying to pull that one up as well. So no, I would say, yeah, vaping used to be the biggest one. It is not anymore. Without being identifier, I think more so, it's just some of the things that are in the mainstream news in terms of drugs. I think kids saying how they experience it or what their lack of intelligence or knowledge more so in it is what I think is going to help guide us a little bit more in a different path. Because luckily enough, we do not have control on vaping, but it has definitely become less and less of a problem for us in the building, but just educating our kids more so on all aspects of the drug-free environment. Like one of examples, I'm trying to think without using much of an identifier, things like now prescription drugs and stuff like that. That's an area we're going to have to work on how we can educate a little bit more up front.
I will say from last year, one of our next steps was diving into that because, as Kyle said earlier, a lot of our results were in the poor or fair. And so that was something we really focused on. When we dove into the follow-up to this question, a lot of students noted that they feel like students are recognizing that there is a presence in the hallways or we're aware and there are being checks and there are being things done. So they feel like there's that accountability piece, which is a huge uptick from the results we saw last year. And then just knowing that there's the follow through. Nurse Anna was awesome and got certified last year with an alternative to suspension option for vaping as more of a restorative practice and educational piece when we know that is such a prevalent thing, not just here in Belleville, but everywhere. So having piloted that and gone through that with a couple of students last year, that was a positive piece to just see not just that punishment, but that restorative education piece. So definitely seeing that we are doing our best to control what we can and have those positive influences on our students. So.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Liz and Kyle. Next up on our agenda is discussion on the long-range facilities master plan.
Thank you, Beth. So we have a lot of activity going on. We have a debt management task force. We've got a strategic plan process, and then we have the consultant for long-range facility master plan and construction management services. Try saying that 3 times. One way, a very broad way of calling this is a facility audit. This is that first step in a very long process, potential process of what could lead to a capital referendum. It may or may not, but you don't go down that road until you develop a baseline. So what we did is we developed an RFP, a request for proposal. We met, and as you know, Eric Farrar, Steve O'Connor, and I went both in March and May to the WASBO facility management training. We met with different contractors to help develop our request for proposal. We then released that and had requests come in by June 30th. We then did an initial scoring, very similar to the scoring that we did for the strategic plan, but it was meant to be a very coarse, meaning like rough, just to see if we could filter down like who would be real players to dig in deeper on. And those players to dig in deeper on, we like to bring them to the facility planning committee in August. So I reached out to Meg and Beth and Steve to see if they could come in earlier than our August 25th and come in August 4th instead. We're planning to meet with each of the stage 2 contractors, those that make it to stage 2. where they get to present for 30 minutes on the criteria that we've shared in the RFP. And then have 15 minutes follow up from the committee. I think some feedback I'm interested in, not really a vote, but just feedback is we talked earlier about that forced consensus scoring and that 95%, but we had started to have some scores right at 94 and 93. Like it was, that 100, that top score, and then I should pull it up here. And I'm pulling up the wrong piece of data. There we go. But like we have a 93, we have another 93, a 96, and a 94. So we had we had three that were above that 95, but we had two others just below that where we were thinking, or actually, not two. We had two above it, we had three below it, one just below it, and we thought at a minimum, we got ourselves a little bit in a conundrum. We wanted to hear from at least three different responses, just like we had done with the strategic plan. But we're curious thoughts, especially from the committee members, about extending another hour and a half and hearing from possibly even two more and hearing from 5 different vendors before we actually, and then we've really increased the number of scores, and actually we realized that we have to have another score in there. So we're going to have near a dozen scores, which is great, because then the higher number of scores you get you feel much more better about that consistency. For a course judgment, you want to just see if someone falls away quickly. That's why I don't feel as confident about differentiating that 96 from 93, given that we only have such a small pool of scoring. So just looking for some feedback and also have questions on the next steps. But really that next one will be a public meeting. People will be able to come watch and be able to really dig into, put some voice, literal voice, to the criteria that people try to put together on paper.
I'd be okay with having 5 present, especially since they are so close like that. I think that's a good idea.
I mentioned the same thing as well, Meg. It's too expensive and too long of a process to not take the extra time to make sure we have the right group.
They preliminarily didn't think they'd be moving on, so they'll be excited to get an updated email after that conversation. I think that's as when we initially scored, but then when we walked away, like I started getting, talked with some other folks on the team, and just as we started thinking through this again, Beth, you just put voice exactly to what the group said is it's too expensive to worry about shortening the time of a meeting. I think we just need to take the time to take all the ones that really rose into those 93% and higher and dig into those deeper.
Jim, will we know who the co-chairs are going to be for our, the group that's going to meet in the fall for strategic planning? Will we have those co-chairs designated by then?
For strategic plan or debt management?
Strategic plan.
So I'm expecting that will be some of the conversation that Steve Schrader and Brad Sarin will have with the board about setting up that steering team. The steering teams I know typically tend to be double digit in size. They try to represent the community. And I think their structure does have some leadership to it, but I think that's going to be something that they're going to work through again with the board to develop. And I think in both of these, Beth, you bring up a really good point, is the fact that just deliberate steps rather than rushing through process. And that's one of the things I know that they're really good at as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was just thinking if we did have those folks, it would be nice to make sure they attend this as well.
Yeah.
Because that strategic part of the strategic vision is our facilities. So if they're not, that's fine. But if we have them already, or we have a smaller group who we think it's going to be, it would be nice to extend the invite to them.
I'll make sure. I did reach out when I had a brief moment here just to let those two know. Then I asked for next steps. So hopefully we'll hear from them soon.
So if we're inviting more, which I totally agree with, looking at the overall time, I can't help but wonder whether we need more discussion time at the end.
Yeah.
Okay. I just noticed that this didn't have a whole lot built in.
I should say 90 is probably going to be a little bit more like 105 minutes. So we do have time after each vendor to talk. And then, but I think, Steve, I agree. We probably would take that 15 minutes of process to 30. And then, so yeah, we're probably looking at just probably a meeting that's going to go instead to probably about 7:45.
Do we want to ask them to shorten up their presentations? I mean, most of them have already provided us 50 to 60 page document for us to review. So
what we could do is we could maybe do something where we did some flexibility to have them ready early in case some others get done.
Okay.
I think that sounds like a thing that we could probably, so in other words, just don't show up at 5 o'clock, be ready if your time's at 5 a little earlier so we can please the committee. They might find a way for some wins. I have found though in my experience, that time it would be dictated actually more by the committee, just because they recognize the weight of the work that they're doing.
Any other questions or comments for this one? Otherwise, I think the three of us who are on the committee are all in agreement that adding those other two on to make sure we make the right decision sounds good.
Sounds good. I think we agree.
And I got a thumbs up from Ryan. Thank you, Ryan.
He's closest to the camera.
Yeah, all I see, Ryan, is the back of your head and a thumbs up. That's great. Okay, then our last discussion item is our board development tool with a focus on vision.
So today's goal was just to get everyone to complete that. We're almost there. I do apologize. I didn't get it out. I didn't get it out till Friday to you all, so your turnaround time was very quick. If we could just get the finishing touches put on that, and then we will spend, we wanted to wait until Katie was here in August to be able to talk about the data. So this is just a reminder moment just to make sure we all get that in there. And that's it.
Perfect. Thank you. All right. That was our last discussion item. So up next is future agenda items.
All right. So next month, we're going to do a process of actually approving the deputization of crossing guards. That's going to be broad just because if we do that at this level, they can bring the names to the village and then the village can approve them. And then our crossing guards actually have more authority if they go through that process in terms of handling sticky situations. So it just gives a little bit more weight and credence to their positions. So we're excited to be able to do that for the first time. And thanks to Police Chief Hughes for looking into what that process would look like. We are going to bring a preliminary budget. We did that in September last year. We're going to do it in August this year. We're hoping to do it in June coming up in the next year. And I shared with the board at the end of last week, we did have a chance to look at how the state decisions about the state, both the equalization aid estimates and the new state budget will impact the district. There's still some more things that'll settle out, especially as we get to August, but we're hoping to be able to bring a preliminary budget to you in August. We're hoping at this time also, if the facility planning committee has a successful evening and is able to clearly have a winner, to be able to bring that. If not, we may have to retool. So hopefully, at least we'll be giving an update, if not having an approval. The debt management task force, we have sent out the first notification. We sent it out to the community, families, students in grades 11 and 12. We targeted Young Samaritans that expressed interest in the spring. We also reached out directly to the people on the operational referendum task force. And then we have reminders going out the next 3 Wednesdays as well on the due date of July 31st at noon. And I am sorry, but I was going to give you the data for how many, just a moment here. We have already 13 applications in already for the debt management task force. So hopefully the board will be able to see those names and make a decision on approving at that next meeting. We also be approving advisors, primarily at the middle and high school, but there are a few elementary advisors, so that'll be coming in August. We have our director of food service end of year report. And that report typically is done in August because there's some wrap up that has to occur by this time in July. And then Zach will be giving an update report for athletics and community ed. And then possibly meeting with our strategic plan facilitators. That's tentative at the moment.
Perfect. Thank you, Jim. And then future board meetings.
Nothing other than the committee meetings for the facility planning. And just want to make sure. I know we have 3 in August, but I think the other 2 are at the end of August. Just double check. Lost my list. Our next meeting is on August 11th. So, right, we only have the one meeting before, and then communications and policy come after.
Perfect. Thank you. We do not have anything.
Beth, can you hang on
for-
just, hold on just a second?
Oh, yep. Go ahead.
Oh. Hold on, which one is this? Hold on, I don't think, which meeting? Hold on, which? Oh, the board meeting. Oh, the whole, so Ryan is suggesting that the board meeting in August be shifted to the day not after the Belleville Community Picnic.
Ryan, you can eat your fried chicken still. You'll be okay.
I wasn't sure which meeting you're. I think you do have a kindred spirit, at least one in this room as well.
All right. Any other discussions on Belleville Community Picnic or future board meetings? Okay. We do not have a closed session agenda at all, so I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll second that motion.
I'll make that one.
All right. Motion made by Ryan, seconded by Alan. All those in favor, we say yes.
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 Yes. All those opposed say no. Vote passes 6-0, and we are adjourned at 7:51 p.m.
Was last year this meeting, was it 7:48?
We didn't break your record, Jim, but it
Nope.
was close.
I talked too much at that last thing about next agenda items. If I would have just zinged through it. I was thinking about you. Be a goal for next year. I apologize. Jesse Backus? You have to stand up. Sorry, this is post-meeting. Jesse, this is the board that approved you. So Jesse, this is our new business manager. She'll get to present to you next month. Also, Becca, we didn't have this conversation, but when I'm away, if there's an initial emergency, Becca will be the point person. So.